This is episode 6 of my latest YouTube series, and I love this album. I don't need to tell you what it's called. I don't need to tell you the episode number. You can see it written down below, but I feel like I maybe have to cover all my bases, and I'm going to tell you it's episode 6. And this one, I'm going to, I like a lot of music. It all falls under the giant rock umbrella, and within that umbrella, there's a lot of, heavy metal and thrash metal, and maybe some people might say pop rock. And there might be some surprises. Some people who maybe don't really know my musical tastes, or even if they do know my musical taste, might be surprised at some of the albums that I really love, or some of the bands that I really love. A few of the bands that I did when I did the discographies. Maybe Goldfinger surprised some people, and I don't know, maybe a few other ones. I think this one today, I'm going to talk about "Automatic for the People" by R.E.M. Might be a surprise for a lot of people. When I told my friend, I've mentioned my friend many times, Kevin Montavon, when I told him the albums that I was going to talk about in this series, or plan to talk about. I don't know how many I'm actually going to do. He said, it was pretty surprising. I think this was one of the ones that he said was surprising. And I guess it kind of is, because, and I'll get to it now, R.E.M. for me was never a band that I liked. I'm not an R.E.M., I can't say I'm an R.E.M. fan, but I do love this album. They were one of the bands, I heard them way back in high school, and I didn't like them. To me, I lumped them in with, I was a metal head in high school, and I still am a metal head. And, metalheads, especially back then in the mid-'80s, early mid-'80s, I guess, you were kind of closed-minded, and I put R.E.M. in that group with U2, and I don't know who else was like that, but I just didn't like them as a metalhead. It wasn't the kind of music that you liked. If I remember correctly, R.E.M. might have been the first band that I heard that was called alternative, which it's one of the dumbest musical genres or descriptions of music. The common argument would be, well, what is an alternative to? And I guess that's true. But it's just rock. And so I was aware of R.E.M. and I knew the singles, whatever was played on the radio. I guess I knew at that point, "Losing My Religion" was a big song. I don't know, what else were some big R.E.M. songs before "Automatic for the People"? Maybe "It's the End of the World as We Know It," "Radio Free Europe." My cat is back here playing in a box, disturbing me. But yeah, I just didn't like R.E.M. R.E.M. was definitely not in my music realm until 1992, and I don't know what happened, but "Automatic for the People" came out in 1992, and I loved it. And I'm not sure why. Obviously it's a great album. That's why I'm going to talk about it. I'm not sure, and I never did go back and dig into R.E.M.'s catalog, so I don't know how different "Automatic for the People" was, and I'll show it to you now in case you're curious. There it is. I'm not sure where this stacks up in the R.E.M. catalog, if you're a big R.E.M. fan. I think most people would say that this is R.E.M.'s signature album. Not necessarily the best album. It was their biggest album. I'm not sure if it was like critically, if people love this album, but I do love it, and I'm not sure why it's so good, but it is, and they just got everything right. And I never did get into them after this. I did usually when I get into a band with one album like this, I usually continue. Well, back then anyway, I used to continue with them. And I used to dig back, and I never did go back with R.E.M., but I did go forward, and I bought Monster, which came out after this, and I never liked Monster. But I'm here to talk today about "Automatic for the People," and it's one of all of these albums that I'm going to talk about. I could say they're, one of my favorite albums of all time. This is a very, I don't know how to describe this album. I don't know if it's stark, or it could be maybe a little bit similar to Alice in Chains' "Dirt," which I talked about. Kind of a mix of, depending on how you look at it, very sad and depressing, or very happy and uplifting. It can maybe, if you're feeling not so good, it can make you feel better, and if you're maybe not if you are feeling good, maybe this album might bring you down. But it's a lot of acoustic guitar with some, I guess, mandolin. I don't know if there's harmonic on it. I think there's our accordion. I think maybe there's, I'm not sure what else is on this album. I would have to check the liner notes. Some strings. Now, one thing I never liked about this album, or any album that was like this, I didn't like it. I hated it, actually, when albums didn't have lyrics. And you can see Automatic for the People never did have lyrics. There it is. And it bugged me, because I like to, back then, not as much now, I used to like to sit down and listen to the lyrics and listen to the album with headphones and read along. And, you know, to just look at a picture of Michael Stipe in the ocean while you're listening to The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight was not as appealing as reading along with the lyrics. But this album, it's perfect. This is with one minor exception. This is a perfect album. Alternative rock, they call it. Drive, it's smack, crack, bushwhack. Tie Another One to the Racks. Very quiet. This is a very quiet album. There's not much rock on this album. I'll go through this track by track. Yeah, Drive is excellent. And I think there were a lot of singles on this album, but I never really, I think the radio that I listened to at the time didn't really play R.E.M. So that was the good thing for me, that I never really had a chance to get sick of it. But Drive was acoustic. Try Not to Breathe is maybe my favorite song on this album. And I'm not sure, again, because there were no lyrics. I knew the lyrics to this album fairly well. But Try Not to Breathe was, I don't know if it was a song about suicide or the death of somebody in particular. But it was, I will try not to breathe. I can hold my head still with my hands on my knees. These are the eyes of the old. What does this say after that? Shivering in cold or shimmering gold, something like that. I will try not to worry you. I'm not sure if I'm saying these right. I will try not to worry you. I've seen things that you will never see. I will try not to burden you. This decision is mine. I've lived a full life. Very dark song. And again, to me, I took it as kind of the point of view from somebody who was maybe suicidal, but I don't know if Michael Stipe wrote the lyrics to this song. Try Not to Breathe, about somebody who had died or somebody who had committed suicide. But it's a very equally sad song, but very, very beautiful song. Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight, I mentioned that a minute ago. I love that one. Everybody Hurts, it's almost impossible now to hear Everybody Hurts without, I do remember the video for that. It was, haven't seen it for years and years. I haven't seen any videos really for years, when there used to be much music and video shows, but that was a car on an empty street or something. But you can't think of that song now, Everybody Hurts, without thinking of Jimmy Kimmel doing the mean tweets, because that was the theme song they used for mean tweets on Jimmy Kimmel. Everybody Hurts. It is a very, very good song. Another, I would say equally, it makes you feel good, but it's very, very, very sad song. Now I mentioned it's maybe not a perfect, I'll forgive this one. New Orleans Instrumental number 1. I've mentioned this many times. I'm not a big fan of instrumentals. Whenever I hear an instrumental, I think, why didn't they put lyrics to it? Lyrics keep me interested. It's not a bad song, but I do lose interest a little bit in instrumentals. And I always wonder if bands, when they have instrumentals, if they wrote them as instrumentals and said, I know the song is not going to have lyrics, or if they just couldn't think of any, if it was kind of a last-minute addition. I'm sure there are many different things, maybe some of each of those. Iron Maiden had Lost for Words, which I guess they couldn't find any words. Scorpions, Coast to Coast, I love that. That's an instrumental, but it's a great song. Sweetness Follows. You could say the same thing about this. Very, very quiet, mellow acoustic song. Monty Got a Raw Deal. That's about my friend Kevin Montavon. They wrote that song about Kevin Montavon. It's true. Look it up. Ignoreland could also be a favorite. I think I said Try Not to Breathe could be a favorite, but Ignoreland too. Ignoreland was, this was a song that was frustrating with no lyrics. You could pretty easily figure out the lyrics to Drive and Try Not to Breathe, but Ignoreland was difficult. It was similar to It's the End of the World, and what was that song called? It's the End of the World and we know it, and I feel fine. Was that the one where Michael Stipe sings really, really fast? And Ignoreland, he had the lyrics that I just couldn't understand, but I love that song. It's maybe the only real rock song on the album. And I think one of the when I first got on the internet in the late 90s, when you could find song lyrics, I think that was one of the first ones I looked up. I don't know if I could find the lyrics at that time, but it's obviously very political. The first line is the bastard. What is it? The bastards took the power. I can't remember. And then they talk about the Capitol, and one line I remember is this is just so profoundly frustrating to me. So fuck you, man. Fuck him. Yeah. But Ignoreland, yeah, I would say Ignoreland and Try Not to Breathe are my favorite songs here on Automatic for the People. Starmie Kitten, which was, I guess, Fuck Me Kitten. They put star instead of that bad F word. Maybe they didn't want to have any trouble. This was in the 90s when things were very different. They could do that now, no problem. Man on the Moon is maybe the biggest song from this album. There's another one that I'll get to that next. Man on the Moon was, I would say, I think that was the one that I heard the most on this album. That was, I think, played on every radio station. Andy Kaufman in the wrestling match. Newton got beaned by the Moses went walking with the staff of good. Yeah. Newton got beaned by the apple good. Yeah. Let's play Twister. Let's play Risk. I know that was I think in the first verse. But Man on the Moon is an excellent song, and I heard that a lot, but I never did get tired of that one. Night Swimming. Now this is the third one I've said, along with Try Not to Breathe and Ignoreland. And also about Ignoreland, that's one of the rare that it had a cool little guitar lick. As I said, it was maybe only the only rock song. It had that cool guitar. I guess it was a lick after the every line or second line. Excellent. Going back to Ignoreland. Night Swimming could also be a favorite. So Try Not to Breathe, Ignoreland, and Night Swimming. Night Swimming deserves a quiet night. September's coming soon. What are the lyrics of that? You, I thought I knew you. You, I can't remember. It's hard to remember these lyrics when I'm talking without taking a long pause. I forgot my shirt at the water's edge. The moon is low tonight. These are just random lyrics. And Michael Stipe, I kind of feel like I'm missing something by not being a bigger R.E.M. fan, because his lyrics were excellent. But R.E.M.'s music it wasn't for me, except for Automatic for the People. Night Swimming could be a favorite too. And Find the River, another very fits perfectly on this album. A good way to end it. Another stark, bare acoustic song. So that's it for Automatic for the People. And like I said, this was there are I think going to be a few other albums that I'm going to talk about in this series. Whoops, I think I broke the no, I didn't break it. It just came undone. A few other albums in this series that might be a little bit of a surprise, or that are maybe more like a one-off in a catalog. Bands that I didn't really like, but I really, really loved one album. And Automatic for the People, R.E.M. is one of them. As I said, I did buy Monster after that in '94, which I bought. I remember I bought on the same day as Slayer, Divine Intervention, and I never got into it. So, and I do like a few R.E.M. songs here and there, but I think they're a band that, even though I'm not really that into them, they're one of the bands you could say really probably, from what I know about them, they never put out a bad album. Every R.E.M. fans, I think, they never had a Saint Anger or a Kiss, Music from the Elder, or an album that turned everybody off. But for me, the highlight of R.E.M.'s career was Automatic for the People, one of my favorite albums ever. And maybe what else came out in 1992 that I love? Maybe even my favorite album of 1992. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else that. Oh no, 92 was good. 92 was no. Not the best one. Faith No More, Angel Dust, Saigon Kick, The Lizard, Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power. Maybe I could put this as around number 4 of 1992. But fantastic album. And you know what I can say about this one? I love this album.